All right, and we're live. How's everybody doing? Got a quick video that we wanted to bring to y'all today. Me and a military buddy of mine. We both transitioned from the military into law enforcement, and we basically just wanted to make a quick little video where we could put out some information about some of our experiences and some of the things that you might experience if you were interested in transitioning from military to law enforcement. We just wanted to put the information out there, and just keep in mind, this video is not a persuasive video. We're not trying to persuade anybody to be a cop. We just, I enjoy my job, and I'm sure my buddy here enjoys his job too. And we just want to put the information out to fellow veterans because it's a really good job to get into right now. Law enforcement agencies are hiring all over the country. They're offering a lot of great pay and a lot of great benefits. So it's just a really good time to get into it. But we just want to throw a quick video together. If people are interested, you guys like it, it can turn into a part series. So we'll just say this is part one for now because there's a lot of information that we want to get out. But let's just jump right into it. So a little bit about me and my background. If some people are here that have already seen some of my videos, I did 5 years in the Army National Guard as a Cab Scout. And I've been working in law enforcement for going on 5 years now between two pretty big agencies. And if you haven't already noticed, I have a buddy that's here. Go ahead and tell them about yourself real quick, man. Just a little bit about your background.
Well, I joined in 2013 in the Florida Army National Guard. I was a Cab Scout as well. I have one deployment. I was with John. We were in Africa. When I got out of the military, I did 6 years, and I became a police officer. I work at not really a big agency, but it's not a small agency, and I love it. Been doing that for about 3 years. So
3 years. You gonna keep doing it?
Yeah, man. It's quick retirement.
quick. 20 years?
Yeah, 20 years, 100%.
100%?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
well, 23 to 25%.
All right, I was about to say, we have to talk about that later. Let's talk about that offline. But like I was saying, now is a really good time to get in law enforcement, man. You agree with that?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of good benefits that come with it. I mean, especially if you have a military background, there's a lot of good things for you in law enforcement. There's a lot of things you can take from the military and bring over. Like if you have combat experience, being a police officer in some aspects can be stressful. So you already have that ability to deal with stress. So that's a pretty easy thing to bring over. If you get in with a decent agency, the pay is good, the benefits are great most of the time. If you work for a sheriff's office or something like that, you get state benefits, which will carry over if you decide to change agencies. And once you become a police officer, with most agencies, they give you a car, a gun, and things like that. And depending on what you're into, yeah.
You get paid for it. Get to shoot targets. Not talking about people.
Yeah. Try not
get to shoot regularly. Yeah, and get paid to do it. I mean, with being a veteran too, most agencies, at least the two that I've been with, but it seems like most of them have veterans preference. You know, you've heard of that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does your job offer that too?
Yeah. When I was getting hired on, it was me and two other guys that applied, and one of them had been with the department part-time, and I got hired over the third guy. So I believe most agencies have a military preference.
Yeah, so just being a veteran, if you find an agency with military preference, and most do, I mean, they're gonna put your paperwork on top of the pile, period. I mean, that's all that means is that you get preferential treatment when you put in your application. So that right there you already got one foot in the door, just being a veteran, if you were thinking about going into law enforcement. And a lot of the agencies are having trouble hiring people just with all the current events and everything that's going on. Officers in a lot of places are looked at negatively. So agencies are having to get creative with their hiring. And a lot of different agencies are starting to basically adopt like a military kind of recruiting formula, basically, where you basically sign a contract up front, they'll bring you in. They even offer bonuses in some cases. Like my agency now, I mean, they'll offer you a bonus with a contract. So that right there is, once again, you start a new career, you have the veterans preference, you got your foot in the door, they put you above everybody else, and then they'll give you a bonus on top, if you make it through the entire process. So can't be that, and that's up front, right? that's up front before you ever get into a police car. What are some of like the other benefits you think of being working in law enforcement after the military?
A big thing that I've experienced is once you're an officer for a year or two, you start getting used to the job and getting comfortable. And after your first year is usually the probationary period. Once you get off that, especially with the medium to smaller departments who don't require a 2-year minimum before you can get on a special unit, a lot of police departments and sheriff's offices, they have specialty units you can go into. And if you like dogs, they have canine units, which are really fun. And with some departments, if you're a canine, you don't even have to take calls. You just use your dog all the time. And there's also things like being a detective. Some sheriff's offices and bigger agencies have aviation units, which those are pretty cool. And majority of agencies have SWAT teams or tactical teams. And especially with a military background, that might interest a lot of people, especially if you could find an agency with a full-time SWAT team where your primary job is to do pretty much what you were doing in the military, but on the civilian side. And with stuff like that, there's also Marine units, and I know down south they have POPs units, which is just drug interdiction and gang task force, things like that. And those could be really fun if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's what like a lot of people forget about law enforcement. They think like if you're a cop and you're just going to be a beat cop and you're going to do that for 20 years, but most people don't know that. I mean, there's so many different specialty units on a police department that, I mean, you're going to be a beat cop at first, just kind of like, like in the Marines, they're like, you're a rifleman first, and then is that how it goes? I'm not a Marine. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Is that how it goes?
Yeah. In the military, you got to drive the truck before you can be the gunner.
Yeah, so, and it's like the same.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to be a cop first, and then once you do that, you can go into a specialty. I mean, you said most of them. I mean, a detective or on the SWAT team if that's what you're into. Fly planes, drive boats, doing dope work. I mean and that's a short list.
Yeah,
that's a short list.
Yeah. And there's some big agencies, if you're not into the whole getting adrenaline rushes every day, they have community outreaches and community specialty units that just solely go out and talk to the community and connect with them and try to make their community a better place. So there's something for everybody.
There really is. And that was another motivation to make this video too, is like I said, not to persuade people to do it, but to put the information out there and just show people that, I mean, there really is there's a job in law enforcement for every like personality type, right? Because everybody's not going to be suited to be on the TAC team, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, not everybody's going to be suited to do the community outreach and stuff like that. So even if just no matter what you're into, what type of person you are, there's going to be some type of position that you can find that you can like within a big police department.
Yeah, another big thing for me was just the freedom and the responsibility part of it. Like in the military, there's a lot of structure, and whether you're retiring from the military or you're getting out for your own reasons, being in law enforcement, once you get past the training and you're on your own, there's nobody looking over your shoulder holding your hand through the job, and there's a lot of good things that come with that if you like being by yourself. And if you don't, there's a lot of agencies where, especially in police departments, where your backup or your coworkers are right around the corner, and you can just hang out and help each other, and there's just a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah, that was something that I had wanted to talk about too, with got some stuff popping up. I lost my train of thought just then. What was the last thing you said? I got a goofy text.
Just the freedom of just being able to do the job and not worry about going into work and dealing with your coworkers every day.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to touch on, is like the freedom with, like I said, we were in the same unit in the Army and in the military, and it's different for every unit, but like in our unit, our leadership, they were like would you agree? They were like, micromanagers. Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of like freedom in our unit. I mean, they tell you what to do and you do it and you get it done. And going into law enforcement, I brought that same mentality, and I thought it would be the same as, you have a supervisor and he's going to be watching over you just like in the military. And it wasn't like that at all. Like you said, you get your own car, and in law enforcement, it's once you finish all the training, they give you a gun, they give you car keys, and they basically give you their blessing to go out and do stuff. And there's no micromanaging. There's no supervisor that's, sitting in the car with you, following you around. It's a lot of responsibility that comes with the job, but there's also a lot of freedom. I mean, you can basically go out and police however you want. There's really no micromanaging, at least when you're working in patrol. Is that kind of your experience too?
Yeah. Once I got out of FTO, which is the training portion where you come from the academy and you're actually in a car with another police officer and you're learning the job. There's a lot of on-the-job training, and as far as training goes, I'll back up a little bit and we'll just start with the requirements to be a police officer, and we'll work our way into that part. It's actually really not hard at all to become a police officer. It's just a little work in the beginning as far as the academy. Once you apply to an academy, it's usually 5 to 6 months, depending on if you do day shift or night shift. I know I did mine at a college, and their day shift was 6 months and their night shift was 12 months, I believe. And once you finish that, it's all uphill from there.
Yeah, and another point to touch on with that too, did you use your GI Bill when you got your certification? Because you have to get he's talking about getting your law enforcement certification. You have to go through, 5-month program, about a 5-month program, and it ends with a state exam. But throughout the program, you'll basically learn all the laws, the high liability stuff, driving, shooting, defensive tactics, and then at the end of that, you'll be tested throughout the entire time. But at the end, you have to pass the state test, and then once you pass that, you can become a cop. But going through that process, did you use your GI Bill too, or did you just pay for it?
I actually didn't. I applied for a FAFSA. I guess it would be a FAFSA loan or grant, a FAFSA grant. Yeah. And they paid for 110% of mine. So
I got it. So GI Bill wouldn't cover it?
No, I could have used it, but I didn't because FAFSA paid for it. So I just saved the GI Bill.
Okay. Yeah, you can also use the GI Bill to pay for this too. What I'd recommend is what I did. The first agency that I worked for, and many agencies are doing this now. Like I said, it's so hard for them to get good people. They have to, but it's called a sponsorship position. And once you get you get sponsored, and they basically hire you, and then they pay for you to go through the police academy. And throughout the whole time, you're getting paid, you're getting full benefits and everything, just to go to school for a few months, essentially. So it's a pretty big, it's a pretty good deal. And that's how I would recommend to get a sponsorship. But there's other options too. Like I said, you can, do the fast cologne stuff, or use the GI Bill.
Yeah. If you plan on going to a bigger agency, definitely go up and talk to the chief or whoever they're hiring person is, and see if you can get hired on and they can put you through the school, because that is definitely a better way to go.
Yeah. It just, for me, it like relieved a whole lot of stress, because like I said, I was getting paid throughout the entire time I went. So it's just less to worry about. I've had friends who did because they'll offer the daytime courses or the nighttime courses. I've had friends who did the nighttime course, so that's where you basically work all day your regular job, and then at the end of the night, every night for a couple hours, you go to the police academy and then do all that, and you still have to study and everything, and they're paying for it themselves on top of that. So that's just a lot of stress that you can avoid all that if you get one of these sponsorship positions where they're basically offering these everywhere now. Let's I think we're running a little bit low on time. Let's talk about like some of the basic requirements real quick. To be an officer, to apply. What are like some of the basic requirements? Because
FDLE, they have some requirements that are like a minimum, and then some bigger agencies may have more requirements depending on their crime rate and just things like that. But most minimum requirements, you have to be a U.S. citizen, of course. You got to be 21. Some agencies require you to have college or military experience, and you can't have any open criminal cases. As far as having felonies and stuff, that's most of the time gonna hinder you from being able to be hired on. There's usually a background check and a oral board where you talk to the chief or the sheriff and some of his higher-ups who help with the hiring process. A lot of agencies require like a psych screening and a polygraph. There's a drug test and a physical requirement. It's usually just push-ups, sit-ups, some kind of small course, and a dummy drag. Just random physical things, just to make sure you're not unable to do the bare minimum patrol job.
And the requirements aren't. It might sound like a lot that you have to do, but it takes time. But the requirements aren't impossible, like by any means at all.
Yeah. And a lot of the requirements are requirements that you have to do to get any job, any decent job with benefits, as far as the drug test and things like that, and the background checks. A lot of jobs require that kind of stuff. So it's the usual thing, and then a little bit of extra stuff, just because the job requires you to walk around with a gun and people's rights are in your hand. So
yeah. You can't let. Don't let stuff like a background check or like a oral. It's all stuff you've done to get into the military, all stuff you've done in the military anyways.
Yeah.
A lot of people get freaked out about the polygraph.
Yeah. Yeah. I was worried about it at first, but it's usually just an investigator, somebody you're going to work with every day, and they're just trying to make sure that you're not hiding anything crazy. But then again, law enforcement isn't for everybody also. There's a lot of things that, as far as responsibility-wise, there's a lot of hotheads in law enforcement, but if you know you're that type of person, maybe it's not for you, because if you get in trouble as a law enforcement officer, the penalties could be pretty catastrophic if you mess up bad enough, like violating someone's rights or a bad shoot or something like that. That can land you prison time. You'll get fired, and it's going to be really hard to find a job after something like that. But
there's definitely like I said, there is a job for everyone, but there's certain qualities that probably won't set you up for success. I guess, like you said, if like you're over aggressive or you're one of those people, if you let things get to you, like things people say, and you bring all that, you bring that stuff home with you. I mean, it's probably not really good traits to have to work in law enforcement, because people are gonna talk crap to you every day. You're gonna be dealing with,
especially if you work in a city, like where I work on a beach, and we have a lot of bars that are open till 4:00 in the morning, and countless times you're dealing with people who are intoxicated, and they just call you all kind of things and try to demean you and make a mistake. And 9 times out of 10, if you fall into that stuff and you violate their rights, or you do what a normal civilian would do and just stand up for yourself, it can get the department sued and get you sued, and that's just a lot of trouble that you don't need.
Yeah, you can't bring like an ego in the law enforcement. That's basically how you end up in prison.
Yeah, and it definitely makes the job a lot harder.
Yeah, makes it a lot harder. So that's a big thing. Just be prepared to ignore people. Don't let people get to you, and you'll be fine. But there's a lot of people that have issues doing that.
As far as being a police officer, though, if you think you might want to try it out, just give it a shot, man. The worst that can happen is going to happen in the academy most of the time. A lot of people worried about getting tased or pepper sprayed or something. And if you've been in the military and you've dealt with CS gas and stuff like that, being sprayed is a lot worse.
It's a lot worse.
That's probably the single most worst possible thing anybody can go through. But it's over in 30 minutes. Yeah. After that 30 minutes is up, it's not as bad. I haven't been tased yet, so
I have twice.
I don't know how that is.
It's bad. You don't want it, man.
but it's just like anything else, man. Basic training, everybody's worried about getting smoked and doing the gas chambers, but it's a minimum requirement, and everybody has to go through it. So just embrace the suck, and it'll all be over.
Yeah,
soon.
It'll end quick, and you got to think about the benefits too, like we talked about. Like it's a steady job out of the military. I mean, you get all sorts of freedom now. You can take off work whenever you want. You got regular days off, and the biggest thing is, I mean, you're home every night. You can't beat that.
Every day.
You gotta, or every day. You're home either every night or every day. But I mean, it's a really good job to get into. Really great time to get into it. And like I said, we just kind of wanted to talk about a couple of things. The stuff we just mentioned, like I said, this just a really short video, just to talk about some of the requirements and some of the things that get your foot in the door. But we can, like any of these topics that we talked about, we can go way, way into farther detail easily, especially with the requirements. That's, like I said, that's just stuff to get your foot in the door, but we can talk about more about the academy. We can talk more about the FTO process. I am an FTO myself, so I train new officers as well. So a lot of information I can offer about that too. But like I said, this was just good.
And you still got things like DUIs, and there's a list of things that can go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a part 2 if that's what the people want, man.
Yeah, if anybody, we'll probably be getting a little long, so we'll just stop this here. And if anybody has any questions, just leave them in the comments. Anything y'all want to see us talk about in like a part 2, just let us know. We'll probably go ahead and do a part 2 anyways, but if anything specific that you want to talk about, just let us know. But until then, see you guys next time. Thanks for being here.
Yes, sir.